Good morning. I have chosen to record this video on the morning of Friday, 25th of October, Eastern Daylight Time, because of how much I feel that this Maple Leafs team is so badly broken. I've had feelings that somehow this team should bring in a bunch of current and former police and military drill sergeants to, figuratively speaking, knock some sense into, in particular, various members of the Core Five. I define the Core Five as Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Morgan Rielly, a defenseman, and John Tavares. I think a very interesting video from May of this year, during which Sid Seixeiro, on episode of CTV Toronto's Breakfast TV, following the Leafs' loss of their opening round playoff series to the Bruins, of it having been, according to him, problematic, of having given very high preseason cap hits, ridiculously high preseason cap hits, I would say, to the Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares quartet. I would say that extends to Morgan Rielly. And again, against St. Louis Blues, Rielly and Tavares put up points among members of the so-called Core Five. Matthews, Marner, and Nylander were no-shows. And if I were Craig Berube and had the power to bench those last three forwards I didn't mention, I would do so in a heartbeat for the Leafs' upcoming game against the Bruins at TD Garden. And to those who like to say that somehow, the Leafs will win that game, beat the Winnipeg Jets next week or so, I say, Leaf fans and followers, are you confident that these Leafs are going to win either of the next two games? I have to be very skeptical. Remember when Sid Seixeiro, on an October 22, 2022 episode of CTV Toronto's Breakfast TV, claimed that the Leafs were never going to win a Stanley Cup with the roster they'd had? Well, that had come not even 12 hours, or not even 18 hours, after the Blue Jays had lost yet another opening round playoff series. Well, swept in one. And also claimed later on in that clip, which I plan to include in this video, that neither the Leafs nor Blue Jays had been, quote, a serious team, unquote. And he claimed in his comparison that Kawhi Leonard had been part of that Raptors 2019 championship winning team, and that somehow Leonard had stopped teammates of his from giving him high fives, low fives, whatever. I'm not sure what actually went on, what had gone on, what went on in that Raptors locker room, but if Kawhi Leonard did what Seixeiro claimed Leonard did, then kudos, because there were some serious players on that team. Last regular season, the Raptors lost 57 of 82 games, and 3 in overtime. So had the NHL rules on standings points applied, the Raptors would have ended up with 53 points. And that would have been better among NHL teams than only the Blackhawks and San Jose Sharks. That's not good. Those Raptors, and effectively, Masai Ujiri, the president of the Raptors, have been forced to, will pretty much say, this is a lost season, time to go in a new direction, and that's exactly what happened. Out were, in December, Precious Achiuwa, OG Anunoby, and Malachi Flynn. Just going to check that one for a moment here. Just going to go for the transaction. 2023-24 Raptors. So it's going to go to the Raptors and just going to see exactly what the transaction is. Just going to double check here. And yeah. What was the transaction again? Yeah, so Chua, Anunoby, and Flynn off to the New York Knicks. Late last December in favor of RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and the 2024 Detroit Pistons second round draft pick. The following month, off would go Pascal Siakam in a transaction that included 3 first round picks, one of them conditional, with 2 of those unconditional 2024 firsts. Yes, I'm not sure what's going to happen to this Raptors team, but it is definitely. I'm starting to get those vibes with the last 2 losses by the Leafs. That maybe these Leafs will end up like last season's Raptors. And it may very well be that at long last, that these Leafs are not a very good team. And I go back to that interesting radio clip from JD Bunkis' own podcast on Sportsnet 590 The Fan from January of last year, during which he had claimed that the Raptors had been, quote, a bad basketball team, unquote. Very interesting claim made. Those Raptors would pull themselves out of the muck and into a play-in spot, finishing 9th. But they would end up losing that play-in game in April of last year to the Chicago Bulls. Narrow loss, but after a blown near 20-point lead. In response, Sid Seixeiro, on the first relevant episode of City TV Toronto's Breakfast TV, claimed that season had been, quote, a group failure, unquote, of one by the Raptors. In December, yes. Just hours before the Raptors were to lose a very close game to the Detroit Pistons, President Ujiri pulled off that big trade. Yeah, that brought RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley to the Raptors. To put the Raptors to change direction after it had become clear that the Raptors were going nowhere close to a play-in spot. But I believe it also had to do with circumstances forced into a rebuild. Will this season be one during which the Leafs are forced into their first rebuild since having drafted in 2016 Austin Matthews at first overall? It may very well be that comes its way. This Leaf team is nearly unwatchable. I don't know how many games of that the Leafs are scheduled to play that I plan to watch before the 2025 postseason. And that's if the Leafs even get into the 2025 postseason. I haven't liked how the Oilers have looked either. But again, just going to recap all the videos from TSN, from comments from James Duthie, Cheryl Pounder, Jeff O'Neill, Jared Dreger. No doubt, thumbs down. This Leafs team is not serious. It's badly broken. And problem scoring in the last 2 games. This team was supposed to be a great regular season team, but even that's in doubt. The regular season has over 70 games left in it. Doesn't matter. The way the Leafs have played, I have felt so badly here. There's no question that this Leafs team is broken. I'm not confident that it's going to turn things around. It didn't even, not enough players who Craig Berube, the head coach, had sent out, bothered to show up. Joe Wall allowed 2 ugly goals that I could count. The first and the fourth, St. Louis Blues ones. from a team that Berube had once been a head coach of. Yes, this should have been significant, beating a former team Berube had coached. Didn't work. It's possible Joe Wall allowed other ugly goals. But again, questions about stamina and Anthony Stolarz. I have to ask myself, what's going on? Whether it was postcast, Leafs talk on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Game Over Toronto on the Game Over Network, whether it's the Locked On Leafs podcast, Locked On Sports News podcast, Teal Sports Talk YouTube man. Very interesting claim by him, claimed that use of Game Time is just not a good app. I have yet to use Game Time. I don't know if I will. But why would I spend money wanting the Leafs lose by country mile? Teams are supposed to make games interesting, close. If they lose, isn't that how the Leafs are supposed to play? Play to win. But not enough members of that Leaf team have the mindset of the need to win. Like it or not, pressure is only going to grow for change to come if this continues. And that may be a good thing, because this team is broken. And I like to absolutely believe that this Leaf team will make it to a 2025 conference final. Oh. Yes, in this conference final or bust season, these Leafs are busting big time. And it's not clear if those will see playoff action. That said, I very much look forward to watching Canada's other NHL and NBA teams play, including later on Friday Eastern Daylight Time, the Raptors hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Whether the Raptors win or lose, at least the Raptors are fun to watch. Team in transition. A team that may not even come close to a playing spot. But basketball is back. On that note, I'm going to say, go Raps go.